What I love about you is this whole idea of meditation. And when I came to your website, I love that you described yourself as like, I'm a meditation teacher, but I'm fun and quirky. And I was like, okay, cool. So this isn't going to be like a Buddha experience where, when most
Yeah.
people think of meditation, we think of monks and going to Thailand and just sitting around and humming. And I think that meditation is so important, but we don't have a very good grasp on what it actually is.
Yeah, I'm not I'm a regular person and I don't change the way I talk when I guide a meditation. I
I
don't
love
get
that.
all airy, ephemeral or something
Woo,
when I
woo,
start.
woo is what
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
no, I like actually one of the things that I value most in my practice is making it totally easily translatable into normal life. And I think that if I'm modulating the way I am when I'm teaching meditation so differently from how I am in my normal life, then I'm not doing a very good job of making that those my regular life flow into my practice. So
Right. And it can be a very scary thing for people can be intrigued in it, but if they go to some place and it is all the quote unquote woo woo, it's very hard to step into the doors and be like, this is something that I want to try.
yeah, because it makes it seem like it's for a particular type of person.
Right.
And it's not. It can be for anyone.
So what was your journey like? What got you into meditation in the first place? Because you have quite an extensive background as far as being a wilderness guide, a social worker, a psychotherapist. So where did
Yeah.
meditation come in?
Well, I was in my early 20s and I went to art school for college and I was trying to be an illustrator. I had like a 9 to 5 job as an animator and I was just kind of like miserable doing that. And it didn't feel like it had any meaning behind it.
Mhm.
And I was kind of searching for more purpose in life, but I don't think I would have been able to put that into words. And so I just quit my office job and started doing things that felt good, which it was for me at the time. I had a lot of energy and I did a lot of physical stuff. Like I loved hiking and being outside and running. And so I got a job at an outdoor education center and started working with kids because I loved that too and being outside a lot. And I met someone at that job who loved meditating. And I think just because he sensed my vibe, he was like, you would like meditating too. And so he gave me this little book called 8 Minute Meditation. And I just started doing it and did love it because it just seemed like a good idea to just spend 8 minutes a day just existing. Especially at a time in my life when I was pretty driven
Mhm.
physically. I would like train for and run marathons. And
So the idea of
I,
like slowing down was probably very hard.
it actually, well, not for me, because I did both.
Mhm.
It was like, well, I'd go for my run in the morning and then I would just be totally relaxed for
Mhm.
8 minutes. And it was sometimes the best part of exercising is afterwards when you just get to enjoy the endorphins that are flowing through your body.
Mhm.
So I think that made it easier for me to just be able to sit still because I had gotten that out of me.
Mhm.
And then I got to sit with whatever it was that was driving me so hard to be so active.
Mhm.
And over the course of many years, I learned a lot about that part of me from my meditation practice and had to really question the reasons that I was trying to be so active and
Mhm.
the parts of myself that I might have been running away from.
So like using your fitness to cover up for something else.
Yeah,
Mhm.
which basically was a lot of insecurity of many different forms, like I started running in the first place because of body image stuff.
Sure.
It wasn't because I liked running. Like nobody likes running.
As I tell, I
Secret.
actually just was with a client this morning. It was her first time ever. She's like, I just want to look, I want to like exercise. And I was like, I'm going to tell you right now from the start, you're not going to like it. You're like, especially at the beginning, but you'll eventually like the way you feel at the end, and that will keep you coming back.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, There were times when I really did get to a place of enjoyment with it, but that definitely was not the main driving force. But behind my exercise routine, it was like to feel like I had permission to rest. And without the exercise, I didn't feel like I had the permission to rest. I didn't earn it.
Mm-hmm.
And that was something that I really had to explore and sit with when I got really deep into practice. Because why can't I just exist and be okay with that? Why do I have to earn that? What makes me so bad or wrong that I don't deserve to just sit down
Mm-hmm.
and take a break unless I've accomplished something in advance? I eventually, this is years later, got chronic Lyme disease. I had to stop running. My joints hurt too much and I was way too tired. And it felt so bad that it was clearly not healthy for me to keep running or do most exercise, actually. And so I kind of just stopped exercising because I was forced to. And then I really had to sit with those feelings in a new way. And that was very, very transformative for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I definitely don't have to earn lying down because that's all I can do.
Right.
And it actually ultimately became a big relief to just let myself have an unstructured day where I don't have to wake up and the first thing I do is exercise. I don't have any kind of regimen. All I have to do is tune in to what my body needs and wants in the moment. And that's it. And I go from there. I don't even have to have a plan for the day.
That sounds, as someone who has struggled with, I talk about this on my podcast, so it's no secret, but exercise addiction for most of my life. Hearing you say that sounds amazing. And I'm like, oh my God, I can relate so much. But yeah, it's this whole idea, some people work out because they're trying to diet. So they feel like I have to work out to earn my food. Whereas, like, there's also parts of
Yeah.
us that are like, I don't want to be seen as lazy. So I have to go out and run X amount of miles or anything before I can sit down and watch my Netflix show.
Right. Yeah. It's how we think about ourselves and how we might feel like other people are
Hmm.
perceiving us that drives so much of what we do. And it's at the expense of actually listening to what we need and what our bodies need. And it establishes such a contentious relationship with our bodies
Hmm.
where we're just kind of trying to take control and be in charge of our bodies instead of valuing any kind of feedback or information that our bodies are trying to tell us. And our bodies are always trying to help us feel the best that we can,
Right.
and we don't trust them. And that,
And we beat it to the ground so many times.
yeah, yeah. And so the widening uh, gap between our minds and our bodies actually ultimately is not serving the mind or the body.
Mhm.
And I was kind of forced to close the gap when I had to stop exercising and started having to listen to my body more and more and more. And ultimately what I actually found was that it is so much healthier in every way to listen to your body and to do way more rest than, I mean, even now my Lyme symptoms aren't that bad anymore, but I still have this habit of just my default is to rest. It's not to go run a marathon or even exercise at all. My default is just to rest. And from there, I get to tune in to when my body wants to do something because it feels good. And that has been such a game changer for me. Like, and weirdly enough, I love the way my body looks and feels now more than any other time in my whole life, which is wild
Mhm.
considering all of what I've been through and how much like self-hatred driven exercise I was doing. And just from really appreciating how much my body does for me and taking more time to notice that, and just sitting with my body and feeling all the ways that it's trying to support me in wellness, I've come to really, really respect it a lot more and love it a lot more.
I love that. Congratulations. One thing that you had also mentioned a little back was how, you're exercising because of how people will perceive you or how we see people perceiving ourselves. And it's very selfish of us. And I think that meditation would help us as well to think that we are the main character in everybody else's life around us, right? We're at the end of the, we're so worried about what your neighbor thinks, or, if they don't see you go run or whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, I tell people all the time, you're not that important. And to
Oh,
think that you
nobody's paying
are,
attention to you.
nobody cares. They're only worried about themselves. They are their own main character. And so once you like have that experience, that realization, it's very freeing.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so freeing. I mean, it, for me, it was more like I would be self conscious because I would think that other people were judging my body for the way it looked.
Hmm.
And again, like, I actually kind of think that people may feel safer around someone who isn't extraordinarily fit looking,
Oh, sure.
right?
Yeah,
Because it gives them permission to look however
exactly.
they need to look.
Whereas when you're
And
around somebody who is super fit looking, you're thinking they're judging me because I'm
yeah,
not. Yeah, for sure. Or oh, if
yeah,
you're around people, they're looking at her because she's the hot fit one. Who am I in this? I'm the ugly friend, quote unquote.
yeah. And in the Buddhist tradition that I am trained in, what we really, really value is other people and animals and every kind of being feeling safe around us, because that's the foundation of love, actually. So the more that that is my goal, to help other people feel safe around me, the less it becomes about me. And what a relief that is. I don't have to be special, and I definitely don't have to or want to be better than
Mhm.
anyone else. I just want people to feel safe around me.
That's beautiful. Now, you said that you got started with just 8-minute meditations. For someone who has been curious about it, what is like one, I think that's great because I stress the fact all the time, like something is better than nothing. So it's not as if you're sitting in a dark room for 30 minutes of your day while your kids are running amok around the house. 8 minutes is pretty easy for somebody to do. What does an 8-minute beginner meditation kind of look like? And how do you even start to tune out the outside noise?
Yeah. So I think the first thing to know, and the biggest misconception about meditation, is that you have to tune stuff out, and that you have to clear your mind, and that you have to feel any particular way at all. You don't. You just notice what you are feeling and make space for it. So it's 8 minutes of observing your experience. What's happening in the body? How does the breath feel? Where are the places of tension? Maybe what's going on in the world of sound, not trying to listen to other people's conversations or like the background noise of the TV, but just kind of softly letting sound in, kind of like you would be listening to a piece of music, just like letting it wash through. And then the same thing with thoughts. You can observe thoughts. You can, instead of being the one thinking and planning and remembering and making your daily to-do list, you're just noticing when your mind becomes active.
Mhm.
And again, you're not trying to clear the mind. You're not trying to tamp thought down when it arises. You're simply noticing it and kind of just watching the mind do its monkey thing and trying not to get over involved with it. It's going to be active, it's going to do stuff, and it's not the goal to get it to stop. And it's not a failure if you can't, because that's not the goal.
Mhm.
It's just to notice that thoughts are like any other part of your experience. They arise and pass away just like a sound does, just like a sensation in the body. So we start to take this observer perspective when we meditate, and we begin to see that our experience doesn't have to be something that we're constantly trying to manipulate and control. It can just be witnessed.
Mhm.
And it's that witnessing place that starts to become a kind of solace for us. We come back and back again and again to this witnessing place. And so logistically, how this would look when you're meditating for 8 minutes is it helps a lot of people to pick some anchor to pay attention to and come back to again and again. Like the breath is maybe the most commonly suggested anchor, but that doesn't work for everyone. Sometimes sound is a more helpful one, or just one place in the body, like the tingling of your feet or the way it feels to be sitting or whatever. And you don't have to sit in any particular posture. You could even be lying down if that's all your body can handle right now. And you could also be walking. So this might be a helpful way for people who are full of restlessness to dip their toes into meditation, is to walk back and forth. If you can find like a large enough room that's maybe you get like 10 or 15 feet to walk back and forth in.
Mm-hmm.
And you just do it kind of slow, and your anchor is the feeling of your legs. So that's the thing that you come back to again and again, and just notice with a soft, receptive attention. And anytime you notice that the mind is wandering, then you just notice that and you come back to your anchor.
I'm
And so
assuming
that's
if you're going to do it with walking, don't make sure you're not listening to a book on tape or a podcast.
right. Yeah. The less distraction that you are inserting, the better. You're not trying to do anything other than observe what's happening. So if there's stuff going on around you that you can't control, like you can shut the TV off if there's no one else watching it. But don't use the time to multitask and be like, oh, I'm going to meditate and do something else. Because no, that's not how it works. You just meditate.
Right. And it sounds like it's a very therapeutic experience. Like you were having a lot of moments to yourself of you're like, oh, this is the way that I do this. This is the way I do this. Do you ever then take all of your thoughts that you had and then journal them afterwards to kind of like get them out of your body, out of your mind?
Um, from time to time, I've done that. I've been like struck with some creative idea during a meditation session and I've written it down, but it can be a little bit of a slippery slope where like you just use your meditation period as a time to generate ideas.
Hmm.
And we do get very creative in the space where we're just observing and we're not as involved with our thoughts. So a lot of creative thoughts arise. And so it's very tempting to just like stop in the middle of your meditation and write it down. And then turns out you look at it the next day and you're like, that was actually not that good of an idea.
That was actually kind of stupid.
Yeah. It's like when you're drunk and you think you're saying something funny, but it's actually
Yeah.
really dumb. So I would err on the side of not doing that, just because it's so often the case that the mind just gets even more relaxed and more expansive if we're not grabbing onto any of the thoughts and trying to chase them.
Mhm.
And the whole reason that that creative genius struck us was because we had entered this space that was just soft and receptive. And so just keep going towards that, and even more will happen, even more will unfold. There's so much that can be discovered that is way better than like your idea about how to be more efficient at the grocery store or whatever it is. There's just way more insight that can happen, and we will remember the ones that are important. They will just stick. We don't have to write them down.
What are the different types of meditation? Because I read somewhere about like Thai forest meditation. I know the different practices, like Buddhist meditation. What's different in the way that it's practiced or the way that it is carried out?
Well, Thai forest is a branch of Buddhism. Um, and there are many different branches of Buddhism and many different techniques. The main technique that or I don't know if it's a technique, but the main form of meditation that I teach and talk about is called mindfulness, which a lot of people know. It's also known as Vipassana or insight meditation. And I mean, there are lots of different kinds of meditation that are not Buddhist, like transcendental meditation is one of them. And like there's kind of like a self hypnosis thing that you can do. Uh, there, I would I would just do mindfulness if you're a beginner.
Mhm.
There's a couple others that I also teach and practice. One is called loving kindness meditation, and you can use that to help generate uh, more more feelings and inclinations towards care,
Mhm.
towards other people, towards other beings, towards yourself. So that's called loving kindness meditation. And then there's a form of meditation that's kind of designed to help get into states that are quite deep, profound, clear mind, calm, tranquil states. And
Mhm.
that is called concentration meditation. So in in those states, there can be a lot of clarity, which is the point of doing that meditation. You see clearly into the true nature of things, that everything is impermanent, coming and going. There's nothing really to hold on to. And so we get this glimpse of real profundity that helps give us a lot of perspective in our regular lives. So that a lot of people, that's kind of like sexy. That's like the sexy meditation. People like doing that, or they come to meditation because they've heard about concentration practice and the cool, trippy states that you can get yourself into by doing that. But it's definitely not for everyone, especially if you have a lot of trauma. It can be really kind of intense to do that.
Are those the ones where people are like dancing around by the end of it, or very like I've seen
Uh,
some that are very like orgasmic almost with like crowds?
it can totally be orgasmic. I mean, it can be extreme physical pleasure. It can be like you're not feeling anything in your body at all because you're so like beyond like concept. But I don't know. I haven't seen the dancing thing, so you might be that might be something else.
Yeah, it's probably something else. I
Okay.
like you say little keywords. I'm like, ooh, I wonder if this was that. We had watched some cult from the 1980s in Oregon, and there was a lot of like chanting going on with very wild dancing within the groups by the time the chanting was done.
Oh, it sounds kind of like a like group hypnosis kind of thing, like
Yeah.
speaking in tongues and something. That's
Yeah.
not, those aren't things that I have any experience with at all.
Yeah, they're wild.
I bet. Yeah.
I wish I could remember the name of the cult, but I can't now. Again, I it
It
was in
does
the
sound like a
80s.
culty thing. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was
Yeah.
crazy. I think it was established in India and then brought to Oregon. Yeah,
Yeah.
it
That,
was wild.
of course, Oregon.
Right? Exactly.
No offense, Oregon, but
Exactly.
cool stuff
Um,
happens in Oregon.
Now, guided meditation, because I know that you have a lot of guided meditation, and I was looking at your Substack and listening to a couple of them. What is guided meditation, and is it the power of the words that people follow? So it also helps keep you trapped into what's going on. Why is that so beneficial and helpful for some people?
Yeah. It's, well, it helps some people because it just, there's someone helping them remember to come back again and again, and also pointing to particular things that you might notice
Mhm.
when you're meditating. And especially if you're a beginner, it might be a little hard for a lot of people to feel like they're doing it right. And a little bit of guidance helps, goes a long way,
Mhm.
and a little bit of pointing to things that uh, the way that experience is also goes a long way. And we notice, if someone is has done it before, they have some sense of what you might see, and they can kind of point out different things that might be there. I mean, for me, when I guide meditation, some of what I end up pointing out is self-doubt, because that's such a pervasive feeling in our culture, and it comes up a lot for people in meditation. Like, am I doing this right? I can't do this. Other people are better at this, not me. I'm way too restless. I have too much ADD or
I'm
whatever.
not good
I'm a
enough. I'm
failure.
not smart enough. Sure.
Yeah. So I like to guide meditations and point out how that might be actually just a belief, just a thought, and we could see it as just a thought.
Mhm.
And I also like to counteract it, like it's actually not true. What makes you so special that you're worse than everybody?
Right. Going back to what we were talking about before, except in the other direction.
Yeah, exactly. And because so often it's the self-doubt, that makes people stop trying or not even try in the first place. And I think that everyone could have insight. Everyone can have insight. And maybe everyone has different ways of doing that. But if you don't even try before you give up, then you'll never know if meditation is right for you.
Yeah. Do you feel like as soon as the session is done, you almost have lost like 5 pounds of stress? Kind of like at the end of a workout where you have that endorphin high. Do you have that like stress relief after spending just 5 to 10 minutes sitting in your thoughts?
Uh Sometimes, but I wouldn't want to set up that as the expectation
Hmm.
because sometimes the way it goes when we meditate is we are more in touch with some stuff that we've covered over. You know, we're more in touch with some anxiety or pain that was there all along,
Hmm.
but we were kind of running away from it or masking it or hiding from it in some way. And so we get actually more sensitive when we meditate. And there is a relief because whatever barrier we were holding up,
Hmm.
we get to drop that. And that's a relief. But we're also now in touch with whatever vulnerability is behind that barrier.
Hmm.
And so it's a combination of a relief, but then also kind of having to move into a more vulnerable and sensitive space.
And sit in those feelings.
Yeah.
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 Do you feel like in today's society that we have that even more often because we are able to put headphones in and listen to a podcast or we're always distracted, so a lot of times we do run away from our emotions, so when we don't give ourselves very much time to actually think about what we're going through from a day-to-day basis.
Oh, totally. I mean, there's distraction at our fingertips. People make money off of distracting us. And in some ways, I'm kind of a rebellious spirit. And so I love the fact that meditation helps us reclaim our attention
Mhm.
and be like, wait a second, I get to do what I want to do with
Mhm.
my mind and my body. I don't want someone else to profit off of my attention, which is what so many people are doing. They're capitalizing on our attention. I want to reclaim my attention because that is the most agency that I can have over my life is my attention. I can choose where I put it, and where I put my attention has a huge impact on my well-being. If I'm constantly focusing on thoughts that make me anxious, I'm going to be an anxious person.
Right.
But if I'm training my mind to focus on thoughts that bring me joy and ease and peace, that's the person I'm going to become.
Yeah. I love that. On the weekends, I always spend about 4 hours in my kitchen prepping for like the week and stuff, and I do all of our meals. And my husband every week goes, "Do you want me to turn on music? Do you want me to put on a podcast for you?" And it's the one time that I don't want, I'm like, no, I don't want any noise. This is just something that I do for myself. I can sit in that's kind of my meditation for 4 hours in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And don't get me started about background music.
Mm. Oh, now I have to. So no to background music.
I mean, it's like me. For some reason, I'm like so allergic to having something just going in the background
Uh-huh.
because it just grates on me after a while. And I'm not actually able to fully pay attention to it because I'm trying to have a conversation with somebody else. And I know that some people actually feel more, they feel better because there's more distraction.
Mhm.
I'm just not one of those people.
I'm actually the same way too, especially when it's time for around my period, like noises outside of like just a conversation drive, it's like nails on a chalkboard.
Oh yeah, yeah, I find it so difficult.
I
Yeah.
don't
And
even realize that one of my friends recently did because I was complaining about the lawnmower or something going on down the street. And I was like, this is driving me crazy. And she's like, you're getting ready to start your period, aren't you? I was like, I've never put that together, but yes.
that's hilarious. Yeah, and every mind is different, like if your mind is a mind that loves lots of stimulation, that's also you can also meditate, and And there's actually a lot, turns out there's a lot of stimulation in just turning inwards and noticing what's happening in your mind and body. Like it's kind of a bombardment of stimulation if you really start to notice what's happening there. And the outside music and distractions and stuff that we like to surround ourselves with are to we're trying to do that to drown out the like undercurrent of anxiety and restlessness and unpleasant sensations that we might be feeling already.
Mhm.
But when we turn right towards those, let go of those distractions, turn right towards what it is that we were trying to avoid by distracting ourselves, what starts to happen is that we start to see that we can actually handle it. First of all, we don't have to run with it, which in and of itself is a big relief.
Mhm.
Oh, I can actually just be with this feeling. And that the more we fight with it and try to run away from it, the more stressed out we get.
Mhm.
So it's actually not the fact that there's discomfort or that there's anxiety or that there's self-doubt or whatever we're finding. It's that we're resisting it. That's
We're
the
almost running
suffering.
away from ourselves. Like you're like, I can't be a friend with myself. Like, why can't I just sit by myself and hang out?
Right. And it turns out you can't run away from yourself because you're you.
Right.
So what a relief to not have to.
Exactly.
That's the biggest relief. And that's the kind of peace that gets talked about in Buddhism is the peace of not having to change anything that's happening, not having to run away from it, not needing to make anything different or better or other than it is, and just being in the flow of whatever life is bringing and being okay with that. That's being one with everything.
Hmm. I love that. And I know that we don't have a lot of time, but I did want to ask about the solitary retreat that you did. Why and what kind of impact did that have on you during and after?
Well, the why is I'm just the kind of person who just fucking goes for shit. Like if I'm gonna run, I'm gonna run a ultra marathon. If
Yeah.
I'm gonna like go swimming, I'm gonna do polar plunges every day all winter. And if I'm gonna meditate, I'm gonna do a whole year of solitary retreat. Uh and
You're a woman with my own heart. I love it. Same way. Actually, I just signed up for another ultra yesterday.
oh my God, awesome. Yeah, so I mean, the solitary retreat was like the ultra marathon of meditating for me.
Mhm.
And I wanted to do it. I knew that I wanted to have kids and I knew that I wasn't going to do it after having kids. So I just figured I'd do it
So
as soon
it's
as
just by
possible.
yourself for a year?
Yeah. Yeah. It
No
was fine.
talking or anything?
Well, I mean, I was by myself. So I talked to myself.
Yeah, okay, okay. So your vocal cords, I was like, how do you talk after not talking for a year? But okay.
I actually formed a habit of talking to myself that I had to break afterwards.
Oh, funny. It was like you and Wilson, the
Yeah.
volleyball.
Yeah. Yeah. And I actually had a voice recorder that 10% Happier had given me to document my experience in case they decided to use the content for one of their episodes later. So I had my little Wilson thing and I would like record stuff that I was feeling and just use it as my little journal. Um, but it was not it, I did this retreat because I had had so many experiences on retreat of profound ease and letting go and clear. I had been looking for purpose in life and I found it. I had been looking for what really mattered in life and what really brought true lasting happiness, and I had found it in meditation. And so I figured a whole year of that would bring me an enormous amount of clarity and peace. But it was just a way different experience from what I was expecting and from any other retreat I had ever done because of the Lyme disease that I was talking about earlier.
Mhm.
And I had just a few months before starting the retreat found out that I had chronic Lyme and had had it for like 7 years or something. And it was also getting really bad at that point, to the point where I couldn't really meditate. I I couldn't focus my mind. There was too much brain fog. There was too much discomfort in the body. There was way more. than my mind could tolerate. I was just outside of my window of tolerance all the time. And so I was on this meditation retreat and not able to meditate. And I tried and I still made myself do sitting and walking meditation as much as I could. And I also just did a lot of other stuff. I did a lot of laying around in bed and talking to myself. I did a lot of like paint like little paintings. I did, I planned out what I was going to cook for myself. I got obsessive about my health and my healing journey with Lyme and restricting my diet in different ways to help with that. And I was just forced to see that there are many different ways to grow and a find depth other than meditating,
Mm-hmm.
which is a really helpful thing for
Sure.
someone who easily gets fixated on one thing as being the thing.
Everything. Mm-hmm.
And so I was kind of forced to expand and widen my path a lot as a result of that experience.
That's incredible.
Yeah. And I was forced to understand just how hard it is to be a human. And I think up until that point, it had been fairly easy for me to meditate and get concentrated.
Mm-hmm.
But this was not easy. And I really feel so much more compassion for just the state of human existence and how hard we all have it.
Mm-hmm.
Like not that it's all always hard, but when it's hard, it's really hard. And we can feel trapped in our human experience. And we find all these different ways to try to get out of that trapped feeling. And just to really land and sit in that sense of helplessness was really, really connecting for me. I felt like I could really connect with this human life in a way that I had been trying to escape before
Mm-hmm.
with my practice. I was trying to just get out of it. I just don't want to feel this anymore. I just want to feel good all the time. But this made me have to sit in it and really be a human.
How long did it take for it to kind of like to get hard? It was like the first few days, you're like, this is great. I'm by
No,
myself.
it
And
was
then
never good. It was never easy. It was
really,
hard from the beginning. Yeah.
oh wow.
I was waiting for it to get easier the whole
Uh-huh.
time. And it was always hard.
There's no adjustment period. It wasn't like, oh, weeks 3 through 5 were terrible, but then it got easier.
No, it was,
Yeah.
I mean, the only ways in which it got easier was that I gave myself more permission to do less meditation and more other things and
Hmm.
call my husband and talk to different teachers or people who weren't even teachers, but just like psychics and healers. And it got easier just because I like gave myself more permission. And maybe it's all kind of about giving ourselves permission. At least that could be a theme for this episode is permission to rest, permission to explore, be creative, play.
I love that. I
Yeah.
think it's really important. Right now I talk about this all the time, a loneliness epidemic. And I think part of that is 2020 put a lot of craziness on the world. I think also part of it, I feel like I'm an introvert and being an introvert has become very popular, right? To kind of say, I'm an introvert, so I don't do this. Whereas I feel like in the past it was, I'm an introvert, but you're still expected to go out and live life a little bit. And I feel since 2020, it's been more okay to say no to things. And I found myself being pulling myself away from the world and using it as an excuse of, well, I do online things, I'm not by myself, but I realized that my mental health was going down. I'm like, what's going on? And it was because I was using my introvertness as an excuse to not truly be around people. And
Mm.
so over just the past 6 months, I'd say I've started to say, you know what? Yes, no is an answer, but no is not always the answer. And sometimes you have to say yes to put yourself out there because solitude is not a good thing.
Yeah. And what that makes me think of, Kindle, is how um we might mistake giving ourselves permission to do something or we might get confused between what am I just like being easy on myself and when am I actually running away from something.
Exactly.
and afraid of something. And
Right.
so that's like, yeah, that's maybe the place that we can start to pay attention is what is the intention behind this thing that I'm letting myself not do.
Hmm.
Is am I giving myself permission truly to rest right now, or am I actually afraid and avoiding something? Because one feels good. It feels good to truly rest, and it doesn't feel great to be resting from a place of fear. That's not really rest.
Right.
So the more sensitive we get to our bodies, the more we can tell the difference between those two things.
Right. For sure. Well, Miss Cara Lai, did I say that right?
Yeah.
So, thank you. I'm going to end on that note because I feel like this was such a beautiful conversation, and I think that we could continue to chat forever. But I want to make sure that I get your information out to all the listeners so that if they want to get information from you, they can hit up your Substack, hit up your online classes, and then you can also share a little bit about maternity leave stuff. Are you going to be taking a break? Give everybody what they need to know.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, so I have a website, caralai.org, caralai.org. And on the website, there are some free drop-in meditation classes that I offer usually twice a week. One of them is an hour long, one of them is just a half hour. And it's just a great place to learn. If even if you're a beginner, you'll learn basic stuff about meditation, and there's a sweet group of people who joins, usually a diversity of people, so people who come regularly, people who just have been there for the first time, and we have a little discussion. So those are just donation based classes, so anyone can pop in at any time. And I also have a Substack, like you mentioned, it's caralai.substack.com, I think. And I try to put out a guided meditation every week and a little article. And so, and you can explore that. It's basically free. There's like donation options. And I teach a parenting class too. So if you're parenting, I do a class that's about meditation and parenting and the convergence of those two things. And yeah, I'm due for a baby on September 20th, which is like 3 weeks away. So I might I might be doing a little bit less work for a few months.
Just a little. I love the fact you can tell it's your second child when you're like looking at your watch to figure out like when am I
Yeah,
having this kid?
sometime soon. Could be any minute now.
That's awesome. I love it. And then my very last question for you is how is it going with bending spoons?
Oh, yeah, haven't gotten there yet, but my attachment to being able to do it has really loosened.
If you guys don't know what I'm talking about, you got to go make this is me sending you to her website so you can go check it out and read.
Thanks.
Carly's website is beautiful, by the way. I love the bird drawing.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah,
I
I'm also an artist, and so my Substack is populated with a bunch of my art.
love it, love it. All right.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with everything.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on the show. This is really fun.
Yeah.